Burnett with the Buyer's Box podcast, and today I have a very special guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Ed Bocchino, Revolution Mortgage. Good morning, everyone.
So tell me a little bit about you.
So I'm a Virgo. Family, two lovely little daughters. They keep me young, no doubt. They're 10 and 7, two girls, and geez, been in this industry now since probably early 90s.
The dinosaurs walked the earth.
Yes, they definitely were, no doubt. I did survive the Ice Age, just love what we do, love what we built, love what we provide, to our consumer base, to our realtor partners, to our affiliates in or around, just the whole industry altogether. And it's just what we do.
Awesome. Thank you. And so our podcast is really for agents that are looking to convert buyers leads. So today we're going to talk a little bit about mortgage objections, because, when you're calling your lead, you're talking to leads, people are in different stages. And so we get a lot of objections. And so we want to make sure that you're able to handle those objections and ultimately get to the appointment, which ultimately, gets to the mortgage part and gets to your paycheck as a real estate agent.
Yeah.
First one, my credit's not good enough.
Great. Give me a call back in a year. No, I'm joking. No, we won't say that at all. Actually, what we do pride ourselves on is patience, right? If you're an agent trying to convert buyer leads, you may not expect yourself to need to know everything, but you need to know enough of everything and how to react, how to communicate back with them, and for just to get them into the right direction. So I always tell the agents, let us be the filter, right? I mean, you need to know enough, right? Be a subject matter expert, no doubt, know a little bit about everything, but let us be the filter, right? I get a lot of agents sometimes that I apologize, I'm sending this one to you. It doesn't matter, right? That's what our job is to figure it out. But if someone does say that, and I were a realtor, I was an agent, I would just say, listen, there's just so many different programs today when it comes to home financing. You just don't know. There's so many guidelines and opportunities for folks at all levels, right, of credit, or it will at least get you on the path of how to get to where you want to get to, right? Because people, I look at folks' credit, and we have a system called Rapid Rescore and Wayfinder. The algorithm reads the credit, it understands it, and then it will say, hey, if you do this, this, and this, you have a X% chance that your credit score goes to X. And we use that all the time. We use it all the time. And it may not just be to get somebody qualified. It may be because, maybe their credit score is a 680, but it can get to a 720. And that's 2 tiers of pricing from an interest rate perspective, to the better. And it only took maybe $1,200 to do it, right? Wow. It's amazing what it does. So I would say, look, we're all human, understand, right? We're all human. We understand credit, no doubt, right? But this is what these folks do. And we're not there to take applications, right? We're there to advise and counsel. If it turns into an application, if it turns into a qualified buyer, if it turns into a new home for someone, well, then that's the path that it just takes. But, the other thing I think is important for agents to understand, especially in working, with our team, is we're not just checking boxes, right? We're having conversations. And if those conversations turn into an application, well, then that's exactly the direction that it goes. And some folks just need to ask questions just to feel comfortable, right? So if it's, well, call them and they'll do an application and they'll work on a pre-approval, slow down, right? That's, by the way, what's probably going to happen anyway, right? But we don't need to communicate it that way. Right? It's aggressive. It's, let's have a conversation first. Let's answer your questions. Let's see what you guys are looking to do. And if it leads into that, then that's where it leads to. And again, 99% of the time, that's where it leads to. But there's just a different way in answering that objection, if you will.
Sure. And it, as a real estate agent, it's our job as a trusted advisor to, help our clients, guide them through the process, help them come up with a plan if they're not ready. It's very similar to, well, what I'm hearing is it's very similar to if somebody says, hey, I'm going to retire in 3 years. It's figuring out, okay, well, how are we going to get you from point A to point B? Yeah. And, you may be a long ways away, or you might be
well, they call that pre-retirement now. I see the commercials. It's pre-retirement, which I think is genius, right? I mean, it kind of starts to set you up before you even thinking about really, retiring. It's getting prepared for retiring. which, it's just a play on words, but it's pretty cool.
I'm going to tell Andrew to buy some leads for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Retirement.
Retirement.
This one's my favorite.
Uh-oh. By the way, we haven't talked about any of these questions. This really is live.
I don't want my credit pulled. What do you say? What's the real estate agent supposed to say?
Yeah. Well, first off, with who we work with, they don't do any hard pulls.
Okay.
Right. I know that they only do soft pulls, and they'll do a hard pull if and when we get into contract on something. So there's number one, right? It's an inquiry. It's a soft pull inquiry, not a hard pull inquiry. So that generally eases everybody's mind at the end of the day. And then, or the other thing is this: trust in us. Right? Trust in us, right? You should get a bumper sticker.
Oh my gosh.
Right? But trust in us because, again, just like you may be saying, hey, they're just counselors, they're advisors, they're there to represent you, ask questions and understand what you're doing. We don't need to rush into an application. It's the same thing. No, that's okay. A lot of times they can reverse engineer everything and just know where you are. And I have folks that just don't want to run their credit, and by the time I'm done chatting with them, they're so comfortable, they're willing to do the soft pull or whatever it takes to make sure that they do have a pre-approval that can be issued, right? And it's simply because I'll just say, hey, that's okay. We don't need to do that right now. I move at your pace, right? So, let's ask these questions. What do we have? A consumer debt, any installment loans? What's our income? Where do you think your credit score is? All of that, I can put together a picture for them immediately. With what it would potentially look like. And then that's just getting them to feel more comfortable. Plus, they've had the conversations with us. We're chatting about things. We're laughing. We're joking. We're crying sometimes.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, next thing you know, what do we have? An application and a soft credit pull, right? All they wanted was someone to talk to.
Sure.
So, we break those barriers, right? As far as an agent goes, I would just say, yeah, no problem. The folks that we work with, they're incredible. They'll just ask questions and they can generally reverse engineer everything without even having to pull credit. Now, what they don't know is that if they really do want to put an offer in, we need to do a soft pull. But if you gave me someone and I chatted with them and, they're $100,000 W-2 wage earner, they've got, one car payment of $500, a couple of credit cards, we've got the down payment money. I know, they say they got 50 grand in the bank. They got 50 grand in the bank, right? We ask the questions, make sure that there's no red flags and large deposits or anything like that. Great, perfect. It sounds like everything will be wonderful. By the way, here's what your estimated payment would even look like.
Okay.
Right? So they know everything before we even have to pull credit. So don't fight it. Don't fight it. Perfect. No problem. That's great. They're not expecting to have to run credit.
Sure.
They're just expecting to have a conversation. That changes everything.
I think so too. And for our team, we really don't show houses unless they do have, they have talked to a lender or they do have that pre-approval.
Yeah, 100%.
Just because, especially homes that are occupied, I feel strongly that, I would never want, if our house was on the market, I wouldn't want looky-loos in our house. And we want to make sure that
it's that simple. Yeah, as you would do as well, right? That's what I would say. Well, look, as you would do as well, right? You just want qualified folks. You want someone that's been vetted, right? Walking into your home, right? Yes, I do. Well, that's what they want.
Sure.
It's real simple. That's an easy conversation.
Yeah. And I think also too, through the conversation about money, because it can be awkward, you can kind of feel out, where people are in their journey, because they may not be ready, but, at least they know where they're going to go.
Yeah.
And figure out a plan.
Yeah. And the most important thing, because, and I always say this, a lot of agents, and it's difficult, I know it, right? You get someone, you're especially a newer agent, they seem interested in wanting to buy something. They may push back on this and that. Maybe you give them a little bit more leverage than maybe a seasoned agent would, right? Because why? Because you just don't know how to communicate to them how you want this to happen, right? So you may be out showing homes, and I'll tell you, from everyone that we speak to, it's likely 25 to 30% of people just simply don't qualify. Don't qualify. So when you think about the time that you're taking and putting out there, you got a 3 in 10 chance that the person you're going all over the place with, showing homes to, can't get a mortgage, right? So now you think of the importance of time, and now you force yourself into learning, how do I communicate this? How do I get them to do, what, not what I want them to do, but what they should do for themselves, right? Because the other thing is, look, we got to make sure we're in the right zone. We're looking at $500,000 homes, or we're looking at $200,000 homes. And see, I would do it this way. Instead of bringing it backwards to say, well, maybe you don't qualify for that, I would go the other way. And I would say, we could be looking at a home. The next home may be at a different price point, but has more of the amenities or things that you like. I think the important thing is knowing, what does that payment really look like? What is everything going to really look like? Right? Because maybe 250,000 is comfortable for you. Maybe 500 is comfortable for you. I don't know. And do you really know? Right? Have you spoken with a financial? No, we haven't. Yeah. Well, that's just important stuff. That's why it's so important just to kind of get pre-positioned. I hate the word pre-approved. I hate it. I don't
like that word, pre-positioned.
Right?
I like
it's all about getting pre-positioned for your home purchase. Pre-positioned. That's it. You're getting pre-positioned. Well, what does pre-position mean? It means that you get to understand every aspect of purchasing a home from a financial aspect, and make sure that you're comfortable with what you're doing. Right? And that's it. Can I afford this? Can I afford that? Or am I comfortable? A lot of times, here's what I'd say. A lot of times, folks can afford more than what they're even comfortable in affording, right? And I get that all the time, right? Folks with low debt ratio, and they're like, well, what do you think? I only want to be at $2,500 a month. What do you think? I'm like, look, you can buy a lot more home than you want to buy. You know what I mean? So just getting pre-positioned and understanding what everything's going to look like is super important. It adds confidence to the entire transaction, right? And I say that all the time to folks. It's great for for your realtor representing you, right? They have confidence that when we go into contract, we're closing. You're just worrying about this, that, and the other. What color do I want to paint the bathroom, right? What furniture do we want to get to put in there? We've got ourselves completely pre-positioned, ready for the purchase. We're pre-approved. All the numbers. When we present an offer, we're confident that we're going from contract to close seamlessly, right? There's the value add. Everyone wants that.
Yeah, just feeling confident purchasing a home, especially first-time home buyers they're all spooky wooky about their first purchase and what it's going to look like and where the money's going to come from. And so, again, it's the planning.
Yeah. It's getting pre-positioned.
I love that word.
Or pre-planning for your purchase. PPP. Pre-planning for your purchase.
Pre-planning for your purchase. Okay, so I love this one because this happens a lot. So Andrew and I and our team, we work with Google PPC leads, which means that really focusing on people from that New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Maryland area that are searching online, looking for homes, and moving down here to the Myrtle Beach area, typically looking to retire. And so sometimes they're since they're already on the internet, they've probably stumbled upon, and I won't say the competitor's name, but it kind of looks like a spaceship, and they're sell mortgages. So sometimes people go on that website, and that website is like, you can afford a $3 million home, and we're going to give you a 2% interest rate, and all these other crazy things. And so sometimes we have to really educate them around that. And so what would you say to real estate agents when they're having that conversation of they applied for ABC Mortgage Company online, and now they want to come see houses here? What would you say to the real estate agent?
Yeah, I would just say, and I'm just kind of coming up with this now, I would say, those big national brands spend billions of dollars, right, to convince you that they're better. At the end of the day, our partners, number one lending institution at the Grand Strand, everything is paper and pen, right? When you work with these online institutions, basically, and they're great, by the way, they make it easy. They want to make it easy for you to get online, click this, click that. It all sounds good. But from a qualification standpoint, good, bad, or indifferent, because we don't know what the client's qualifications are, right?
Sure.
From a qualification standpoint, good, bad, or different, it's only going off of the information that you're putting in there. That's it, right? And if you're not uploading documents and that file's not getting underwritten, if you say you make $120,000 and that's because you have a bonus, and this is a lot to say, but just to kind of give you the intent, right?
Sure.
But you have a bonus, but you only got that bonus 1 year. You didn't get it 2 years, and that's $30,000. Well, guess how much you make? You make 70. You don't make 100. But the system's saying, oh, you're at 100 because you put in 100.
Sure.
It's going off of whatever a non-qualified mortgage application taker, right, is putting in a system because they don't know the guidelines.
Sure.
They're just, hey, I got a $50,000 bonus this year, boom. Or I just started a job and, it includes this and I know I'm getting a bonus. Well, you didn't get the bonus. We have no consistency of the bonus or commission. Well, I know I should be making this because of my commission, but I've been at the job and I've made this much yet, but you only been there commission for 3 months. Can't use it.
Sure.
Meanwhile,
Operator
they're
error.
putting it in. So I wouldn't. You never sell against. And I'm not saying sell, right? I hate using the word sell, right? We're professional communicators, right? And facilitators of a transaction. But I would just probably talk about the value of the ecosystem that's been created here, right, between attorney and mortgage and an inspectant and inspector. It's a flat world. Here's where I would go.
Okay.
It's a flat world. Right? Ever since the implosion in 2008, you want the script? Ever since the implosion in 2008, with all the regulation that came into play in the mortgage industry, every lender is within 0.125, 0.25 in back end pricing with each other. That's it. That's the bottom line. Everyone's cost within $300. It's
Wow.
everyone's margins. It's the race to zero, right? Everyone's margins are it's just like I can buy a 6-pack of soda here for that price, and look, it's practically the same price here, right?
Sure.
The margins are all the same across the board, right? We're all within 0.25% in back end margin, rates within 0.125 of each other. It's how much money do you have to use in advertising to make people think that they're getting something different when they're not. Right.
Sure.
And that's what these big national brands have, the deep pockets to spend billions of dollars to make you think that that's the place to be. Place to be is in an ecosystem that's going to ensure that your transaction from contract to close, as complex as it is, which it is, inspections, negotiations, appraisals, mortgage, documents, attorney, title, all of those pieces need to come together. Imagine if you had one team, right? That's been doing it together forever, managing that process. Would you like to have that? Because it's not just mortgage. It's not just real estate. It's real estate. It's mortgage. It's attorney. It's title. It's inspection. It's, all those things. So I would sell more the value of the team when all else is equal.
Sure.
Rate and price is all else is generally equal, then go to the resource that's going to make that a seamless transaction for you and an incredible experience.
Sure. And one thing we like to talk about with our clients too, especially if they're talking about condos, where we just explain to them, everything that has changed in the condo market and the COAs, and just making sure that, you're working with a local lender, and, we can call you guys up and say, hey, did you guys already close on ABC building? And then you can say, yeah, we closed one last week or last month, or, oh, it's been a while because blah, 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 blah. And then that way, you as a professional real estate agent can prepare your client on, listen, happy to sell you this home. I just want to let you know that these are some speed bumps that we could potentially run into. This is what our lender partner is saying. And that way the client is expecting everything. You want to make sure, you as the real estate agent, that, you're preparing your client for, what was the word you used earlier?
Getting pre-positioned.
Pre-positioned, right? You're pre-positioned.
Pre-planning, pre-purchase planning. Pre-purchase planning.
There you go, pre-purchase planning, right? For, what speed bumps could happen. And then if it does happen, it's not a, oh my God, the world's falling down. It's a, hey, remember we talked about this, let's figure out another option.
Yeah. Well, everything's about, front loading, right? And just uncovering all those stones and trying to figure out where the pitfalls might be, before we even get started, right? Sure. So, 100% on the condo side, right? Have my bank in Pennsylvania that, we always use. And the more you have to talk to somebody about something, the more convoluted it gets, right?
Sure.
So you want to just try to hit the 3 bullet points that you've got, in regard to that topic, right, or that objection or whatever, and you just want to move on. And by the way, you want it a matter of fact, right? Because if you start, well, and this and then this, and then it's 5 minutes later, and you're still talking about why use a local lender for a condo.
Sure.
They're gone, right? There you are, way gone. So you need to have these answers, and it needs to be 1, 2, 3. Here's the 3 reasons, right? Now you're probably wondering, what are they, right? I got to figure that out real quick. No,
well, we just talked about
it. No, I know. But the point is, and I would say something like, listen, I always love, elevating the direction that they were thinking of going in, right? Look, a lot of folks do go and use their own bank in their own institutions, right? Especially on single family homes.
Sure.
When it comes to condominiums, it just becomes a little tougher because we're in a resort area. And the guidelines for just general lending overall are restrictive in resort areas compared to non-resort areas. the folks that we work with close nearly 500 transactions a year this year, and about 30% of everything that they close are condos. Right.
Okay.
So we want to be able to front load the documentation we need up front to make sure that we're not running into any issues. Because they do that, they have a robust condo team, right? That all of the documents and everything that they can prior to even going into contract. By the way, they can do that within a day, right?
Okay.
So that's the value of using a local person that knows the condo market here, because we're in a resort condo.
Fair.
Market.
And honestly, before I was full-time in real estate, I was full-time in HOA, worked at the largest HOA management company in North America. They managed 3,000 high-rises across the United States. And I know way too much about condos that most of the time, we always present the material facts, right? But, having that background, we're able to identify more material facts than maybe, up front more than.
And it's a handful of questions, I mean, this could be a whole nother segment.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, sure.
But it's just a handful of questions. That's all, because you're not going to get the condo questionnaire until someone pays for it. Right?
Sure.
So that's added. But, the meeting minutes, the master insurance deck page, and the budget, if it's going to be a limited or full review, condo. I mean, those three things, and then asking the question, is there any deferred maintenance, right? And generally, we're finding those things out in the meeting minutes, because sometimes you get, there's nothing going on at all. I've spoken to everyone and their brother, and then all of a sudden, right, the windows are falling out of the place.
I know.
So we try to uncover that up front, so we're not running into the issues. We probably get 5 to 7 rescue loans a month.
Wow.
Right? From other companies coming to us because they can't get it closed. And sometimes we can do it and sometimes we can't. But, we don't have any overlays on our condos, right? As far as the guidelines go. We do exactly but we know what is allowed.
Sure.
And I think that, because we have such a robust team and we've been in this market, like you guys have that experience in condo lending and your experience in HOA, that means something. There's value to that, right? Because last thing you want is to be 2 weeks down the road, get some documentation we could have gotten from day one, and now we have a closing issue.
Sure. I go on a whole rant about condos. We're kind of running out of time. I want to thank you for coming on our show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And I'm looking forward to seeing you next episode with Andrew. Just to kind of recap, the main thing is, you want to make sure, you're asking the right questions to your clients, especially around lending. You want to make sure that you kind of have some responses ready to go, right? Because some of the same objections are going to continue to show up, and you want to make sure that you're prepared to handle those, and also prepared to handle them in a very calm, neutral tone. So, just practicing those, doing role play with other real estate agents that and take anything from this clip. And I'm also going to put out some lending objections in a downloadable, and so look for that too. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.